you know, what seems to be quite a lot of anger from you tonight. It's like, this hasn't been happening all the time, and we are punching above our weight.
It's not anger. Barnaby, Barnaby, don't say that.
Anyway, big up, Stel. How are we doing today? Really, really poor result, but good to see you.
Yeah, good evening, guys. I hope you and Barnaby are doing well. Everyone watching the show, like, subscribe. Yeah, I mean, there's a few things I'd like to discuss with you guys this evening. The first thing I just want to quickly say is I've never heard that fan that came on earlier speak before, Rovshan. But
yeah,
brother, if you are still watching, big up to you, because it's so good to see and hear a fan call up this show and actually talk about how average these wingers are at this club. So it's nice to hear someone else, you know, with that opinion as well, because I find that we've been very, very generous towards these wingers at Spurs, and I don't think it's justified. So it was nice to hear Rovshan actually speak that way. Believe it or not, that was a compliment, in case anyone thinks I'm being sarcastic. I'm actually complimented. Yeah, look, guys, I don't want anyone who supports Spurs to go in on Ange and have a go at Ange and question his tactics and question his strategy, because for me, let's wait until the summer, because at that point, depending who we sign, I'm either going to be firmly Ange in or I'm going to go completely Ange out. And what I mean by that is, if I don't see some top signings come into this club to justify this FFP status, the kings of profit and sustainability, the richest club in London, justify why we built this stadium, if I don't see some top talent come into this club and I see the likes of Timo Werner given a long-term contract, Barnaby, Sim, everyone watching, I will be 100% Ange out, because we are not winning trophies with those types of players. So for now, please, let's get behind him. Let him do his job. Let's see where we finish. We all predicted we'd finish mid-table or 8th. We're punching above our weight. If we get top 4, amazing. If we get into Europe, it's progress. But in the summer, whatever happens by the end of it, it's on Ange's watch, because he's come out and he's said, I pick the players, or I have the final say. He publicly said that. So I would truly judge him once the window is shut in the summer. But for now, look, he's doing what he can with the tools he's got. He's been given some level of backing. Let's see where we end up at the end of the season. Do you think that's a fair assessment, guys? To wait until the summer and see what kind of players we get?
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I wouldn't. But what are you trying to say? You'd say you start judging him after the summer. Or you're saying if we don't get the players, then you're Ange out even before he's had a chance. Is that? I'm confused what you're saying.
If we sign Timo Werner, I'm Ange out
immediately.
That yes, 100%, because that is not the caliber of player that is going to help us beat the clubs at the top of their game right now, Liverpool, City and Arsenal.
But why would sacking Ange help?
Because he's accepting players signing for Spurs that won't progress us. Like, he's tolerating mediocrity. We've been here before. Like, tonight's game, I've experienced this 100 times. Bottle job, Spursy. Tonight, be under no illusion, we bottled it. That was a bottle job performance from Tottenham Hotspur. I don't like saying that. I praised the hell out of us last week when we beat Aston Villa. I thought that was our best performance last week. I thought that was fantastic. We controlled the game from start to finish. But if he starts accepting players like Timo Werner, then he's accepting mediocrity. And that will only end up in one way. He won't survive. We've been here before. So that's why I'm saying it, Sim.
Is there an element of that being a different, you know, what if he bought Eberechi Eze and Timo Werner, or Michael Elise and Timo Werner, and he says, well, I think Timo Werner is a good enough squad player in terms of, if you look at the other Premier League clubs' subs benches, apart from, I'd say, probably Manchester City, I don't think there are many squad players actually that you can get for less than kind of 50, 60 million pounds who have the experience that Timo Werner does. And actually, I think last week we were all praising him because he scored a good instinctive finish. Yes, he's missed a bad chance today, but I don't think, people miss chances. I don't think that's a slight on his character.
Barnaby, sorry, no, Barnaby, you're okay. You're trying to cover it up because you want to remain ultra positive, which I respect. There's nothing bad with that approach. Timo Werner, that miss you saw today, he did it time and time and time again in a Chelsea shirt. Every Chelsea fan I know warned us of this. Okay, like regardless of how bad the team as a whole played today. By the way, Mr. Box Office came on here last week and said everyone's getting carried away. He came on and he said, he's not convinced by Ange just yet. And in the comments, he got absolutely ridiculed. Well, he was kind of right if you look at today. This Timo Werner, and it's not just him, it's Brennan Johnson as well, and it's Bryan Hill, and I'll even maybe say Kulusevski to some degree. These players, when the chances come, they have got to be finishing these chances. I saw Brennan Johnson go in on goal today in the first half, one-on-one with the goalie, and he P-rolls it into the goalie's hands. In the second half, he's missed an open goal from 2 yards. Timo Werner, he missed an open goal from 2 yards. When your team is playing badly, and the whole team played badly today, we still created moments to get back in that game. We still created those moments. We failed to convert them. Timo Werner and Brennan Johnson were brought in to convert those. So if they're not converting them, it's on them, guys. Like, I'm not the kind of person that's just going to be nice about it, because last week, Brennan Johnson, he was really good with his pressing, and he scored a goal from 6 yards out. On the ball, he's not a good player. On the ball today, the amount of times his first touch was too heavy, his second touch was too heavy, he misplaced a pass. I've been watching this all season from him. Timo Werner's not much better. The amount of times I see him cross a ball into the box, he either tries to smash the ball and take the shin pads off, or he drills it to the opposing defender's feet. If you watch the game and just focus on them only, they're average players. For now, they will do. But if we really are going to have a serious conversation about catching Liverpool, catching Man City, you're talking about Salah, Diaz, Foden, Saka. They are not in that. They are not in that league. They simply aren't, and that's what we have to compete against.
Stelios, sorry, mate. Nobody's suggesting that they are. I think it might be more like if we're going to do comparisons, maybe it's worth looking at the squad that Jurgen Klopp had in his first and second seasons at Liverpool, or Arteta had at Arsenal. So we're talking about Adam Lallana, Nathaniel Klein. Those terrible keepers they had, Karius, they had Mignolet. So yes, it takes time, but that. And also, just to go on your point about Werner, I think Werner was brought in to cover for Sonny while he was at the Asian Cup more than anything else, to be honest. But yeah, let's see what happens in the summer. But what you're saying earlier about, if Ange doesn't get...
Yeah, Barnaby, hold on. No, one minute.
Let me
because you just said something, right? But you've just said something. Look at the players that Klopp had and Arteta had when they took over. Did I not say, if we sign Timo Werner, then I'm Ange out? Because I accept the players we've got right now. I don't disagree with what you've just said. My point is, if we continue to keep those players, then this will end up in disaster, like it did for Poch, like it did for Conte, and like it did for Mourinho. Antonio Conte, whether fans like him or not, guys, whether they think he's the devil or they think, do you know what? We never backed him. When he left Tottenham, he gave an exit speech. And in that exit speech, I remind every Spurs fan, go back and listen to that speech and then look at today's game. Every word he said was true. So until that changes, guys, this game today and these moments will continue to happen. But we as fans are going to tolerate it for this one season because it's Ange's first. But I'm not going to wait 4 years for another project, Barnaby. I'm not going to sit here and give Levy another... Because the chairman's already had 24 years. So
your problem's not with Ange. Your problem is with Levy, not with Ange, right?
My problem is 100% with Levy, but if Ange accepts mediocre players, then I have a problem with Ange as well, because he's the only manager that ever came out, Barnaby, and said, when he was asked in a press conference a few months back, he said that they asked him about transfers and players, and he said, I wouldn't have taken the job if I didn't have the final say. So if mediocre players come into the club, he's had the final say. Conte, Poch, Jose, Redknapp, none of them ever said anything like that. None of them ever said that they had the final say. So I look at Ange slightly different when it comes to transfers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but look, if we take where we are at the moment, would you not say he's ahead of schedule and maybe he's shown an ability to improve players that we previously thought were surplus to requirements? Or maybe not good enough? I don't know. But at the beginning of the season, a lot of people thought Porro wouldn't be good enough, and he's turned out to be pretty good. Basuma, last season wasn't very good. He's turned out to be a lot better. Richarlison's starting to score goals.
But Basuma, for me, needs replacing. I'd maybe keep him as squad player, but I think that 10-game start that he had for us actually wasn't the reality of his true level. He showed that he can be good, but his inconsistency means he's not good enough. Whereas you have a player like Son, who every single season he kind of hits certain levels and certain targets. He's proven a level of consistency to say, actually, you're really worth keeping, because you can have a good patch, but if you're not consistent with it, it's no good to us. So, and regarding Richarlison, again, if you look at the goals he's scored, 85% of his goals, guys, against the bottom 8 teams. Against the top 12, he goes missing. And that for us is a problem, because it's those top teams that we need to surpass. Look, for sure, Richarlison's better this year than what he was last year. And Sim, yes, I fully agree that Ange is doing a great job. I don't have an issue with Ange, guys. I'm Ange in. I back every manager. But if he's done such a great job, then this board needs to realise that and truly back him this summer. And he needs to persuade them, back me or sack me, because it's his reputation on the line. And you guys and I and everyone watching this show, we all know if this goes south, 90% of the fan base will go after the manager. So he needs to think about that and really turn the screw and say to this board, I've taken over this club when it was in misery, it was toxic, everyone was turning against the chairman, the players. I've brought the feel-good factor back. I've brought some half-decent football back. I've given you a taste of what it can be like. Now, you have to back me. You're the richest club in London. You're the FFP Kings. Put your money where your mouth is. You've raised the ticket prices on the fans. Give the fans something back and back me. Let me bring in my players, and then the rest is down to me. At that point, Barnaby, then I will give maximum respect to this manager. But we won't know about those conversations. But I will judge by the kind of players that come in. Like, if I see Timo Werner sign a long-term contract, guys, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. We really need Arsenal bring on Trossard. They bring on Trossard, and they pay 25 million for him, right? So the players are out there. Those players exist. We've got the data analytics team. We've got Lange. We've still got Paratici. We've got McKenzie. We've invested in a structure and a team. Go and do your job. Go and find those 25, 30 million, 40 million pound superstars in the making. Give them to Ange, and then let this man do his job. But if that doesn't happen, what you saw today will happen again and again and again, because the mentality is not right. And
but what happened to
brings you mentality.
Sorry, Stel, but what happened today hasn't been happening again and again. So I think, like, if we're going to put this in terms of good news for you, well, I'd say the good news is, based on what you're saying, you want, a lot of players out who a lot of the fans have been calling for to go out. And Ange, I think, has been doing that. I don't dare say you wanted Eric Dyer to leave and you wanted Davinson Sanchez to leave, and I think Højbjerg will leave, and anybody who the fans haven't rated, Ange has seemed to be happy to get rid of. So maybe that'll go in your favour. But in terms of anger from you tonight, it's like, this hasn't been happening all the time, and we are punching above our weight.
It's not anger. Barnaby, don't say that. It's not anger. No, because when you say anger, you're planting a seed into people's heads that I'm coming across angry. I'm coming across with passion because I love this club and I want what's best. And I come on the show and I'm speaking my truth. And a lot of fans feel this way, but maybe they're scared to speak up on it because you will get criticized if you say these things. So, look, you said this hasn't happened often. What happened a few weeks ago against Wolves? Right? This does happen.
We lost.
We are nothing more. Exactly. So it does happen, right?
But you can't, but every single team loses, Stel. Come on.
Yeah,
You've got to have some realism. We're going to lose games.
I never said we're not going to lose games. I'm coming on tonight to talk about today's game. I've seen happen to Spurs time and time again over the last God knows how many years, right? I don't expect Spurs to be invincibles. I don't expect Spurs to go unbeaten, but I'm not going to happy clap and just assume, yay, everything's great because the media like Ange and because Daniel Levy's told the fans, you've got your Tottenham back. He took it away, right? So I don't buy into all this talk. I've heard this all before. Tonight's performance was an opportunity for Spurs to get back into top four, take control of the situation and use that game in hand, and we bottled it. And I've seen these bottle job performances, Barnaby, under many managers, under many, many years. And the one thing that's the same every single time is there is that lack of quality, that lack of spark to bring that magic when we really need it. And that comes down to the board. And it comes down to the manager as to what they're going to accept and tolerate from the board in terms of recruitment, Barnaby.
Stel, you mentioned before, you don't want another 4-year process. And, obviously, clearly you're saying in the summer you're going to be judging Ange based on the players he brings in. So what is for next season? Let's say we do get top 4 net this season. What is your expectation for next season? Are you saying we need to be in a title race?
If we are competitive and with 10 games to go, we're in the mix to win the title, but not the favourites, and we're in a semi-final of a cup, Sim, I can tolerate that. For one extra year, I can tolerate being the nearly men, almost there, but we genuinely were almost there. And then the year after that, if we then have another great summer window, I expect trophies. Otherwise, I don't know why we built this stadium. I have no idea why we moved to a £1 billion stadium and to have all these riches coming into the club. So next season, I expect us to be in the mix or the conversation for a title race, but not necessarily the favourites, because I don't think we're going to catch Arsenal and City and Liverpool in 1 year. But we shouldn't be crashing out the domestic cups in round 1. That's unacceptable. Not for a Big Six club, not both domestic cups. So if we get to a semi-final and we mount some kind of title challenge, I would accept that. I think that's a fair stance and a realistic one. But the year after that, I want to see a trophy. A Carabao Cup, I can accept, guys. I don't dismiss any trophy. I think a trophy is a trophy. If we win a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup in year 3, I think that's fantastic because we haven't won anything in 14 years. If we do somehow get into a serious title race, that would be phenomenal. And I don't expect that level just yet. But it will depend on the transfer window, Sim and Barnaby. It really will. We are crying out for cover for the wing backs. We're crying out for cover for the number 10. I think we need a proper number 6 at the club because I think Bissouma's more of an 8. And we're crying out for 2 wide players. So what's that? 6 or 7 players we need. That's quite a big job. Plus, there's about 10 players we need to ship out. 5 are coming back from loan. There's a big job to be done this summer, but they've got the team in place. They've got the money. They've got the resources. There's really no excuses now, guys. So if it comes, I'm fully on board. Team Ange, I'll get behind the ownership because they would have shown me something they've never shown me before, that they truly are backing a manager. They'll show me something different that will make me think different. But if I see the same old, guys, I'm done. And I will be loud and I will say it proud and I'm not going to stop because...
And who would you want to replace Ange? If he buys Timo Werner on a long-term contract, who would you bring in next?
I don't care because it doesn't matter because that means the board haven't changed. So the problem essentially lies above Ange.
Right.
But Ange will be culpable as well. Whereas in the past, I've not blamed Mourinho because he got sacked before a final. I've not blamed Poch because he went 18 months without any transfers. I don't blame Conte because who the hell gives him a 2-year contract and thinks there's longevity in that? But with Ange, he's got a long-term contract. He was backed in the summer. If he's backed again this time, this is a very different outlook that I've not seen before. So at this point, I would say, right, Ange, you've been treated differently to the previous managers. So I'm going to hold you partly accountable. Whereas in the past, I've fully blamed Levy. I will be more balanced between ownership and manager this time round, depending on what happens in the summer window.
All right. Stel, good to
Cheers,
see you,
mate.
mate. Always
Thanks
good
a
to have you
lot.
on. I'll speak to you very soon.
Barnaby,
Yes, mate.
listen,
Yes, mate.
it's all love. We're Spurs fans. I like a good debate. I like being challenged. I like to challenge you back, Barnaby. So
Me too, mate. It's all good.
I just want you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because some people think, you know, it's personal. It's not. I think you guys are great. Subscribe
No,
and like
not
this
at
channel,
all.
and big
Not
up,
at all.
We Are
Top man.
TV.
Top man.
Cheers, Stel.
See you later.
All right, brother.
See you in a bit.